you were with the Angels for 31 years, left, now you're back. Do you feel you have to prove yourself at all? Does the Cubs' success make it easier or harder for you?
Um, my mind doesn't work that way. Um, I've never really thought of having to prove myself, and I don't hope that doesn't sound pretentious. I've trained for many years to do this job, so I rely on my training. I'm very much a process guy. I've used the phrase "the process is fearless" because I believe the process lacks emotion. So if you go out there and do what you've been trained to do, um, and your preparation is good, then there's no reason to be worried or skeptical. I actually gain a lot of confidence from that. So the difference would be that I've had the opportunity to put these ideas to test in the past. So if anything, I have more confidence in them.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
How do you manage the high expectations that are facing you as the leader of this team?
Um, Again, I love it. I think I want all of our guys to embrace the word expectations and pressure. I mean, that's why do it? Why
Hmm.
do it if that wasn't attached to it? There'd be no lure to it. There'd be no that would lack a lot of excitement. So I've always preached that to my teams. If you ever hear the word expectation or the word pressure, please run towards it.
Oh, that's good to know. Um, you've faced a lot of doubt and criticism over the years. I mean, it's baseball. I guess that's normal.
Yeah.
What has success taught you that gets you through those periods of time?
Well, I mean, a lot of times you have to consider whomever's firing the slings and arrows. So I don't put a lot of concern with that. Again, if you've done it, I've done it for a while. I have a lot of confidence in what I do and how I do it. So you're right. I mean, it's just a part of the job. If you can't accept that or deal with that, then you should do something else. We're in the entertainment business, and fans need to be able to say what they want. Writers have to write what they have to write because it's all part of the circle. And all of this contributes to greater interest. So I believe in all this stuff being necessary. Of course, I don't always agree with what's written, but at the moment you start trying to over explain yourself, then it sounds like you're making excuses. So I choose not to go there. So it's part of the cycle. It's bar room. It's a kind of a bar room, sitting at the bar on a stool with a nice, frosty glass of beer in front of you and having a discussion. I'd love to see that happen more often. I grew up that way in Pennsylvania, and I think it's a necessary part of what we do.
Hmm. Is there any particular lesson that or thing that's occurred that when you're in those really deep moments of perhaps of a losing streak or just a lot of doubters that you really turn to, and even if it's faith or just a lesson that helps you get through that?
Yeah, I just remind myself to be consistent. When I walk in the door, be consistent. I've had a chance to observe a lot before I got this job, and a lot of times when you went through those tough moments, the inconsistency of the leader leads to even more doubt, more or a longer losing streak. They need to see the same guy through good and bad. I try not only try, I'm not punitive. If I get upset, it's primarily because it's an obvious lack of caring on the part of the player, which is rare. It's hard to criticize hard. Be careful when you criticize hard, because that's the one time a player could really come back at you, because we don't know what it's like to be in somebody else's skin. But you can be critical of performance, because that's obvious.
Hmm.
So these are the kind of things, if I have to be um, go in that direction, I will. And last point, you should praise publicly and criticize privately to really maintain the trust factor that's necessary.
Great. um, a lot's been said and written about your unique leadership style and having mottos every year for the team, but this is a year and a season unlike any other. How has the COVID-19 pandemic challenged you as a leader? Have you had to change your approach at all?
No, not at all. I mean, it actually feeds into it a bit. We started out in the real spring training in February, March. Um, it came to my mind an identity wall, which I think would be useful in any business industry, newspaper, whatever, TV station, you walk in urban style art on the wall are the things that are most important to you as a group. So every time a worker employee walks by the wall, they're reminded this is what's important to us. So this spring training, the word was engaged. That was our centerpiece, meaning just for the players to stay engaged in all components of the game, whether it's getting signs, being accountable to their actions, whatever it might be, engaged. Believe it and you'll see it as another one. We went with baseball wise, we are first to third as an example. You can put your baseball models up there too, relentlessness. So that actually, when I thought of it, was during a drill. I kind of like it. And I think that's something I like to perpetuate. So that's one. And I'm wearing the one right now. And I was just thinking the other day, uh, feel,
Mm-hmm.
feel, which is the gift of experience. I was doing something for a friend for a book, and I was trying to describe him appropriately. And the thought came to my head, the guy had great feel, and
Mm-hmm.
then he had a tremendous amount of experience getting there. So feel is the gift of experience. And that's the latest thing. I brought back uncomfortable on one of the hoodies recently. And it's funny, like especially when you go to a new group, how it resonates with the coaches and the players. So my plan is to interject little thoughts during the course of the year.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
I want to talk to you about your charity specifically
Thank
now.
you.
And Respect 90 seems to be quite active all over the US. And I was just wondering, what was it that first inspired you to start that and to give back in this particular way?
Funny, but it's right down the street. I'm in Long Beach right now. I used to ride my bike from Seal Beach down to Huntington and Newport and back, but I lived in El Dorado Park, which is a little bit further in, at my uncle's house. I'd bring my bike in the back of my truck to Sunset, get out of it, and I'd start riding. And you're presented with a lot of homelessness,
Mm-hmm.
people pushing their entire life in a shopping cart, destitute. And then you'd go into the men's room, stopping along the way if you had to go to the bathroom, and there'd be, guys passed out on the floor. Really bothered me to the point one time I tried to pick a guy up and help him and got swung at. So I mean, it's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of mental illness involved. So the thing was, I wanted to get involved with homelessness, feeding that group of people. So when I got to Tampa Bay, we started something we call Thanksmas. I think all of this has been born of the phrase Thanksmas, where I believe these folks need our help on any day of the year, and not just on holidays. So we picked a day between Thanksgiving and Christmas to illustrate food. The kitchen table, for me, really a source of warmth and great conversation. And the fact that I'm Polish Italian, we went with pierogi and spaghetti and meatballs and sausage. So it started with that concept. And then eventually, when I went back home in 2010 to Hazleton, our town had become really heavily endowed with Hispanics, primarily from Dominican Republic.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous disconnect and fear and trepidation. My hometown was not at all like I'd grown up in, and I really felt as though we were on the verge of collapse. The city was going to die if we did not learn how to cohabitate and understand that these folks are here to help us, and they're going to be the rebirth of Hazleton, just like my Italian and Polish grandparents had been years prior to that. We have this opportunity to relive history as it had been in present time, where we've always romanticized these conversations with the people before us, and now you're going to push away from it. Wow, that it was totally inappropriate, I thought. So
Mm-hmm.
we put together the Hazleton Integration Project. We got funds together. We have our own building, the Hazleton One Community Center now, where we have academic and athletic programs. And part of the concept originally was to do it well enough that other people would want to copy us and that we could help them too. I got all kinds of ideas on this. We can go on, but that's the crux. That's at the basic crux of it. Um, I'm not boots on the ground all the time, but I'm heavily involved. My wife Jay is too, and the
Mm-hmm.
people, my cousin Bob and Elaine back home, really have done the yeoman kind of work behind us. It's spectacular, quite
Mm-hmm.
frankly, and we keep getting bigger and better. And right now, a lot of it is based on providing food for a lot of the citizens back home.
Great, great. I've noticed that, with charities, people tend to have the charity just in the city that they're in, and in baseball, wherever you're playing, but your charity still seems to have a presence in all the cities that you have been in, and continues to do that. How important is that to you to maintain that presence?
You know, I just had a conversation with the entire team about that, trying to promote that we get more involved in our communities. Everything that's going on right now, social injustice, all the political conversations going on right now, to get involved in your community, meaning where you're playing, where we're playing in Orange County, Anaheim right now, to definitely get involved in the community, to the point, go to the front office and ask them, how do I start a foundation? And whatever your truth is, whatever speaks to your truth, get involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you make a difference. Because I think a lot of times, unless we have a large enough soapbox, we feel as though our voice is not going to be heard. Thus, you choose to do nothing, which is a bad choice. So talked about that. And then just what you're talking about, exactly right on, to get involved where you came from. I think a lot of times that's left out.
Mm-hmm.
So it's important to be wherever boots are right now. Long Beach, and we've been involved here, Jay and I, also with the women's shelter here in Long Beach. Wherever you're at, get involved, be part of the solution, but never forget where you came from. And that, I think that would be a great project to undertake nationally, is to really promote, regardless of where you're at, don't forget where you came from, and help that area too. After all, I would not be sitting here talking to you right now if it wasn't for my parents, the family I grew up with, the mentors, the teachers, the coaches, the nuns that I was raised by in Hazleton. And that's why it was so important to me to get back there, to bring it back, hopefully bring it back. And it's coming back together.
Great. And you mentioned the nuns that you grew up with,
Yeah.
and I've noticed that Respect 90 gives a lot towards faith-based groups. And is that intentional? How do you approach faith in your work and in your charity?
It's not intentional. A lot of it is the fact that those groups are involved in charity. The Catholic Charities in Chicago, we've been involved with them. Salvation Armies throughout, wow, up and down that west coast of Florida, from Tampa St. Pete, all the way down to Fort Myers. We've been involved there also.
What do you hope the legacy is of Respect 90, or what would you like it to see happen with it?
That we made a difference, that we might have been a little bit ahead of our time regarding what the work we're trying to do with Black Lives Matter. What we've done there is really pertinent. There's not many Blacks in our hometown, if any, but it's primarily Hispanic. And again, the argument could be made that it's a very similar circumstance. So we've been ahead of that, and providing respect, dignity, and help for these people back there. And listen, my first roommate in professional baseball was Dickie Thon. Richard was from Puerto Rico, and Richard and I still stay in touch. Some of my best friends are Hispanic. So when it turned out that we had this influx in Hazleton, it was just a natural reaction on my part to want to do something like this. So that we made a difference, that we were a little bit ahead of the curve, I think, when it comes to this kind of stuff. And the next point that I'd love is that we've helped others create the same kind of program in their cities. I've had this vision that I'd love to see universities, colleges, there's so many in our country, to provide these kind of facilities, community centers in each city, and provide credit works. It could be part of the curriculum somehow, where students get involved in the community where they're at right now. And I really believe this. There's an elitist component sometimes to some schools regarding where it's located compared to maybe the rest of the city, and that would break down that barrier immediately. I know that. I've lived it, and I went to Lafayette. We unfortunately felt that way back in the 70s, and now obviously it's become more obvious to me why it was so wrong. So let's get the kids involved. I'm all for the kids, man. Get them involved. Get more of these centers up and running, and give them credit for studying and also getting involved in the running of the place. I think that'd be kind of interesting.